Hey kids, I was just fixing to read Salt in His Shoes. I'm so glad you guys came to join me. This story is written by Dolores Jordan with Rosalind M. Jordan and illustrated by Kadir Nelson. Michael Jordan in Pursuit of a Dream. Michael had loved to play basketball every Saturday. He followed his older brothers, Larry and Ronnie, to the park, hoping they would let him play. But if one of the guys who usually played with them didn't show, they always did. But if there was one problem, there was a boy named Mark. He was the tallest boy in the court. "What's the matter, Mikey? Too short?" Mark would flap his arms in Michael's face. "Over here!" shouted Larry. But when Michael tried to throw the ball, Mark's long arms came out of nowhere and knocked the ball away. It flew into the hands of another player on Mark's team, and he made the basket. And just like that, the game was over. His older brother Ronnie tried to cheer him up. "If I was taller, that wouldn't have happened," said Michael. "Oh, don't worry. You played good today. We'll win next time," his brothers would always try to reassure him. When they got home, Michael went into the kitchen. Mama was cooking dinner. He was still disappointed, and she could tell. "You guys lost again today, huh?" Michael just nodded. He sat quietly for a minute, and then he said, "Mama, how can I grow taller?" Mama knew the answer to a lot of questions, but this one was a tough one. She thought for a moment as she sprinkled salt and pepper on the chicken she was making for dinner. Then she smiled. "Salt," she said. "Salt?" Michael said to his mama. "Salt in your shoes. We'll put salt in your shoes, and we'll pray every night, and before you know it, you're going to be taller," she said. "Salt in my shoes?" Michael said to himself. Surely Mama was teasing him. But then he looked outside of the window at his Mama's garden. They had grown, her rose bushes had grown outside. They were so tall now, they were over the fence. They were blooming on vines. He thought to himself, "When Mama first planted those bushes, they were little bitty. If Mama knows how to make those roses grow taller, I bet she knows how to make me grow taller too. Maybe salt in my shoes will really help me." Growing more excited, Michael twirled the basketball around. Mama, how long will it take? How tall will I get?" "In order for this to work," said Mama, "you need to slow down. Most important thing, you need to be patient. And listen to what I tell you and say your prayers every night." Listening careful, Michael shook his head. "Okay, Mama, I'll be patient. What does saying your prayers have to do with it?" "Everything," said his Mama as she gave him a hug. "Now go wash up and tell your brothers and sisters to get ready for dinner." Michael dashed out of the kitchen. "What he's up to now?" said Daddy. "Oh, the usual," said Mama, "chasing a dream." That night at dinner, Michael hardly ate anything. "Michael, first things first, you won't grow if you don't eat, especially those vegetables." "But I'm not hungry," said Michael. Raising Mama's eyebrows, she looked sternly at him. Slowly, Michael picked up his fork. He began to eat, and minutes later his plate was clean and he was asking for more. That evening at bedtime, Michael set out his favorite shoes next to the growth chart hanging on the wall, and then he put on his pajamas and he knelt and said his prayers before he jumped into bed. When Mama came in, Michael was fast asleep. By the look on his face, she could tell he was already shooting that basketball in his dreams. Standing by his bed, Mama sprinkled salt in his shoes, and then she prayed quietly over him, as she did all of her children every single night. "Dear Lord, please help Michael to be the best he can be, and give him the best in all that he does. And Lord, could you please make him just a little bit taller tomorrow than he is today? Thank you, Lord. Amen." Well, after that night, Michael wore his favorite game shoes everywhere he went, even to church. He stopped going to the park, though, with his brothers. On Saturday, he stayed home and practiced. He wanted to grow a few more inches before he went back to that park and played that boy Mark. But after 2 months of practicing and waiting patiently and praying and putting salt in his shoes, Michael stood next to the growth chart. Nothing. He hadn't grown even an inch. He was disappointed, but he wouldn't stop believing. "I've just got to give it time, like Mama said," Michael said to himself, and that's what he did. Well, 2 more months of practicing passed, and still nothing. Michael was becoming really sad. Not only had he not grown an inch, but he missed playing basketball with his brothers Larry and Ronnie. About the only thing he did miss was being picked on by that mean old boy Mark. The next Saturday came, and his brothers tried to get Michael to go with them to the park, but he wouldn't budge. Mama had begun to worry when she saw Michael sitting alone on the steps. She looked at his daddy and said, "Maybe you should go talk to him." So his daddy went out and sat with Michael. "What's wrong, son? You haven't gone to the park with your brothers in a while. Are you okay?" Michael didn't say anything at first, and then he looked at his daddy. "I thought I'd be a little taller by now. I did everything Mama told me to do, but nothing's happening." "Michael, you don't have to be taller. If I were taller, I'd be a great player. I could help our team win." "But you are a great player, son. You already have everything you need to be a winner, right in here in your heart." Daddy tapped Michael on the chest. "Being taller may help you play a little better, but not as much as practice, determination, and giving your very best. Those are the things that make you a real winner." Michael thought about what his daddy had said for a minute. Then suddenly he jumped off and took off. "Where are you going?" his daddy said. "I've got a game today, and I'm late, Dad." When Michael reached the game, it had already started. He sat down on the bench, hoping he'd get a chance to play. The game was almost over. The score was tied when John, one of the guys on Michael's and his brother's team, fell and hurt himself. Here was Michael's chance to maybe get to play. Michael's team joined in a huddle. They gathered on the sideline for a timeout. "Okay, the game is tied. All we need is 1 point. Who'll take the shot?" They all looked in his direction. Feeling more confident than ever, Michael said, "They'll never think I'll do it. I'll take the shot." When the whistle blew and the game started, Mark began to pick on Michael as usual. "Still trying to play with the big boys, huh?" Larry threw the ball in bounds to Michael. Michael caught it and bounced it for a moment and then took off running. He approached the mark. Mark shifted to the right, and then Mark followed him. While he was still shifting, Michael spun around to the left. He was faster than that boy, even though he wasn't taller. When Mark went the other way, the ball arched over his opponent's head and fell silently through the hoop. 2 points. The game was over. Michael's team had won when he scored. It was just as Michael had dreamed. When he realized what he had done, Michael took off running and didn't stop until he reached his house. He burst through the doorway saying, "I did it, Daddy, I did it! I shot right over that big tall mean boy's head and we won the game." Running behind him was Ronnie and Larry, who joined in the celebration. "That's right, little brother, you did it. You won the game for us." Michael remembered the look on their faces during the last time out of the game. "No, we won the game, but I was the star," and they all laughed. After that day, Mama stopped putting salt in Michael's shoes, but Michael didn't stop being patient, working hard, and most of all, praying. So that must be why Michael Jordan grew to be 6'6" and he is a basketball superstar. He also wears like a size 13 shoe, and my son wears like a 12 and a half, my oldest boy Cody. And so his foot is just as big almost as Michael Jordan's. And so it's really awesome to read this true story about his life and what a wonderful star he is. I hope you love this story, guys. Thanks for reading with me today.